My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's your boy Roger, and we're back again. Unfortunately, we had some family challenges last week, and we weren't able to make it, but we're back, and we're back for episode number 122. How crazy is that? As a reminder, we are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst, and hoops player, an infamous, yes, it's infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star, shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports. Remember to like and follow us on IG, YouTube, and check out the 70-plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle and the Big 12 Huddle, which we are a part of. All right. This week, it is the doldrums. Yes, I said the doldrums of. There's still plenty of UCF sports being played, so we'll talk about those. Number one, basketball is heating up as we march towards March Madness, and for once, in a while, we look like we're in a solid position to be able to join the party. So we'll talk a little bit about hoops. We've got a little bit of football to talk about, baseball as well. We'll talk about baseball and see how it's doing. Softball kicked off with yet another tournament, so we'll be talking about that as well. We'll talk about a little bit of listener love, but the big question for me this week, honestly, involves basketball. Theme is Fulks and injuries, so that we'll dig really deep into that this week as well. But without further ado, last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
Hello, world. What's going on today? It's another Roger and Josh show. We gotta call this something when it's just us two on the show. I don't know what it is, but it has to be something, right?
Yeah, exactly. The dynamic duo. I don't know what. Cover two. I like
Cover
that
two,
because we're
welcome
both
to Cover
covering.
Two with Roger and Josh.
There you go.
Well, where only one of us can actually drop in Cover Two.
So yeah, action-packed show this week. We've got a little bit of UCF football news, and I kind of wanted to bring this up first before we get headlong into basketball. For those of you that are familiar with UCF media, there is a UC Fast cast that is produced by the UCF football program. There's UCF football players that are involved, and they host the show. And the new episode dropped. The running back room, which were the folks that were leading this last year, have passed the baton room. So your new hosts are going to be Wade and Charles and Dwayne Speedy Thomas.
Nice.
The interesting thing, and the reason why I bring this up, is because they had a lot of commentary about the QB room, which was interesting in the first episode. And I'll just put one quote out here. It says, this is from Thomas. He says, "I love our QB room right now. We worked out on the side a couple of times, and just the leadership, it's amazing already. They tell us exactly what they want, concepts they want, how deep they want it, if they want it high. I appreciate it already. As a receiver, that's kind of what you need because we like to freestyle a lot." So in other words, and throughout this whole conversation, it was about leadership, how they were already picking it up, even the freshmen. He was talking about Rocco and the guys picking up the football and the offense much more quickly than what the were in the past. And the leadership theme was throughout. And then that's what you need in your QB room. And the folks that are in the QB room, they have a lot of confidence in their ability to lead. So obviously, that was something we had a lot of questions about last year, was the lack of leadership or to take control of the huddle or drive the team down the field. It's what made Mackenzie Milton so good. And I think that was something that was missing. So, this year though, it sounds like even from the initial impressions of these guys, and they talked about AB specifically and some of the other guys, it's different. They also mentioned Caleb Rollerson quite a bit and how good he was. So that'll be interesting and exciting to see, obviously, for the coming year. Said he had the best hands on the team, and a bunch of other things. So any thoughts you want to add to that, Josh?
I actually, it means I'm just working too much. I need to catch up on some of my watching. But all I'll say is this: sometimes when people say things, it also leaves those other things not really unsaid. And I think that really, I feel like they're not trying to like shade the previous team, but they're giving some insight into maybe some uh, things that they would have liked to have seen last year, right? I feel like that's maybe it's leading the witness. I don't know, but all this makes me feel is that two things. One, the past and you put it behind you, right? But it sounds like it also is a very cohesive, communicative group. Like you can talk truthfully about what your needs are and how you like to that's life, but even in sports, if you're very clear with how you want to work and how you work best and how you succeed and thrive, that's a recipe for very positive things. So I love that these communications are happening and they're very clear about their intent needs and they have this time to work through that over now in the summer. So nothing but happy.
Well, number one, all the QBs are here during the summer, which wasn't the case last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, they're working out together already. They're already on campus working out together on the side, which is awesome. And number three, they're providing leadership. And that was a clear shot across the bow for last year's QB.
Yeah.
And we all saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this. This is, I don't think, how do I say this nicely? I think some people, including myself, don't realize how much of a ramp up was needed by Scott Frost and company to get to where we are now. It's not like he had the Rolodex for all of us old heads, but he didn't have all of these connections that he had because he was just in college football for year to year to year. He had enough of a break that he probably needed to get back into the swing of things, both as a college head football coach and in the new NIL era. I think both of those things kind of were probably a piece of the puzzle of what happened last year. Now, if it happens this year, we have another conversation, right? But it seems like we're ahead of the curve, obviously, from last year. And I don't think people really give that as much thought as you might have to. And that's really where I think I'm excited to hear all this because you have a full year, you know the rules of the game, you know where people are going and how that feels and looks like, you know where the money is, you have an idea of what your money looks like now. Let's see how we can do it. So I'm just excited about it all, honestly.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, just to briefly touch on that, as far as where we were and Scott Frost coming into it. I mean, yeah, that's part of that. The other part of it was just the QB room was more of a mess than we thought. The defense was solid. We got most of those pieces back. We got some pieces from the wide receiver room. There are rumblings that Scott even said as much as he appreciated the last year's running back room, he feels like this year's running back room is better. I mean, what's he going to say? It's worse? Yeah. No, but the fact that he said, the other guys could have been backups tells you everything that you need to know. So, all right. In other UCF football news, just one more quick piece. Former UCF linebacker Dimitri Brim as an assistant for the Dallas Cowboys. So congratulations to him. We got to watch him play. So congratulations to him as well. All right. that's all the football we're going to be talking about. Let's talk about some hoops, because that's really what we're all excited about right now and what we talked about in the beginning of the show. So I'm going to start with just kind of going over TCU and what we saw there. And Utah. TCU was a huge, I can't say it again enough. Huge. Yeah, huge.
That was going.
Opportunity for us and something that was necessary, right? We needed to win that game. We were on a 3-game skid. TCU is not a bad team. We pretty much led from start to finish in that game. We ended up winning 82-71. They actually shot more than we did. We just shot better. We shot 49% from the field. Usually when we shoot around 50%, which is what our average is, we win games. And we've won a heck of a lot of games so far this year, right? 3-point percentage, they were 19%. So again, the opposing team didn't do that. Our 3-point percentages started to come back. We were at 40% during this game. Free throws, they had more free throws than we did. They shot 63%. We shot 90%. We're averaging right around 78-79% as a team. Rebounds were about even, although they had more offensive rebounds. We had way more assists, 17 to their 9. Steals about the same, etc. So when we're looking at this game, this was I feel like, and Johnny Dawkins said it a couple of times, and the team say this a few times. I think Burks said it. It was, we needed to win, and this was desperation time. And it looks like they responded positively to that in this game. We outscored them 42-28. They actually outscored us in the second half, 43-40. So much better game, but we just got out to a hot start. We didn't miss shots like we normally do, at the beginning of games, and we just kept that pace throughout. And when we're scoring, around 40 points per half, we're going to win a lot of games. So the defense was pretty solid. And we defended the 3-point line pretty well. So, again, TCU is not a world beater this year. They are 16-10. They are expected to be a bubble in team right now. So, they've got some work to do throughout the season, but so do we, to make sure they stay in. But they are the best of the rest as far as the basketball conference is concerned, and this is a solid win.
Yeah. And we need anything. And here's the thing: being on the road is not easy. And let's be clear, we're beating Oklahoma State at home. We're probably beating Oklahoma State in neutral. We'll probably beat Oklahoma State in Stillwater many times out of 10 if we have our full sea legs with us, right? I think Fulks kind of hinted at it a little bit. I think that Oklahoma State road game irked them because they absolutely knew, after that game, the top 25 stuff stopped. And it's a game that they knew was winnable. Like it
was more than winnable. They should have won that game,
sure,
both during the game and like after.
Yeah, no, and there's a couple of those, and when we were
West
talking
Virginia.
about, yeah,
West Virginia was another one. You had a 14-point lead with 10 minutes left in the second half, and then you, for lack of a better term, pee down your leg and don't finish the game.
And that is when we were talking about this with the 7 games or so left, and you're like, what do you see the rest of the record being? I already say there's one game you're like, what? And I'm not even going to call that the Cincinnati game on the road, because right now Cincinnati is just humming as a team. And I think that's a mix of probably them kind of getting themselves together, and frankly, their coach might be fired if it weren't for this run right now. So, I feel like the little pieces here.
He may still be fired even with the run.
Still might. But the reality is that team is, can be good at any time. And if we don't win a game on the road in the Big 12, I get it. And that's why this was such a big game. Because even though it's Utah, and Utah is not the top of the class of this conference, it's still on the road and it's still not easy. And we saw it still wasn't easy, and forget with Riley out and all that. It's still, and I think Stillwell was. I mean, he played, but I don't think he's 100%.
No, injuries are. I was going to talk about this after we went over the games, right, and kind of where we are relative to injuries and all that. Stillwell is definitely not 100%.
Yeah.
He wasn't. You could tell he's not jumping out of the gym. He's not being as physical with guys. It hasn't been that way since he had his initial injury. He came back, did what he needed to do, and obviously we need him as an anchor. We haven't been running the offense through the high post, which is what we usually do with Stillwell, and we've found a lot of success. When we run through the high post, but we haven't been doing that. And in this Utah game, I mean, this is another one of those what the heck moments, where this team looks like they have taken control. They're up 12 to 14 points. Initially it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We got out to a hot start. We were shooting well. And then we went on droughts, and we're used to this. This is what we're used to seeing from other past teams, but we haven't really seen that out of this team, with the exception of the past 2 or 3 games, really, since West Virginia. They went 1 for 8 for one stretch and allowed Utah back into it. And, one of the things this team was really, really good at was closing out games before with, 3 to 4 minutes left or what have you. And I don't know. It's a little worrisome to me that they're going on these spurs legs. I don't know what it is. I mean, Fulks played most of the game, played all of the second half against Utah because Kugel's out. So it may be tired legs at this point of the season. I'm not sure why that is. But we can't. There's almost too calm sometimes, right? It feels sometimes like they're too calm with a lead. So, I don't know what to say to that, but it's a trend that is not good. And I can say this: bad shot selection. A lot of that, they'll go on stretches, especially that 1-8 stretch. There was some really terrible shot selection that was going on. We aren't making the extra pass, even with Fulks in. We aren't making the extra pass. And I don't know if that's because we're not trusting people or whatever. Then there's times where we're making, like, there were 2 passes for dunks that were phenomenal from the team, right? But they'll go these stretches where they're not making the extra pass. It's not like they're trying to run out the clock and then, go for a foul or try to score. This is in the middle of the game, not towards the end of it. And they're just not making the extra pass and taking bad shots. And I'll talk this game. We'll talk a little bit about Fulks in a bit, specifically in his performance the past 4 or 5 games. Ben and I had a argument. He on the chat. He seems to think that I don't like.
I saw
Fulks.
that.
I wish he was on the podcast so we could talk about it now. But he's not on tonight. But I don't see that at all. I think Themis Fulks has had a great season, and to Ben's point, one of the best seasons of any UCF point guard. But he's not doing the things that he did that made him year long, right? He's just not doing those things. He hasn't been in the past 4 or 5 games. He's been, in my opinion, forcing things. This last game, we really needed him to, run the offense through him. Again, Stillwell's hurt. Riley Kugel was out. It does look like, just from an injury update perspective, it does look like Riley Kugel didn't suffer like a season ending or a long-term injury. Cambridge rolled his ankle, so we've got Cambridge that's hurt as well. Fulks is dealing with the hip pointer. So, it's just like any other sport, football included. You get towards the end of the season, injuries start adding up, but he's just not playing. He's not passing. He's dribbling in. Offenses are collapsing, especially with Riley Kugel out. The defense, he'll have 3 guys on him instead of that. it was funny because I watched him. I called him a bobblehead in our thread because yeah, he gets into 7 to 8 feet away from the paint, and when he gets stopped, instead of passing it, he's bobbing his head up and down trying to head fake, and
it does work sometimes. It'll
does,
get people to get past you
out on that. He does
but
that
not before
turnaround.
time. Yeah,
He does the turnaround shot all the time, and I guarantee you that they scouted that, and the guys weren't leaving their feet. At some point, pass out of that, they had plenty of time on the clock. It wasn't like the shot clock was down or anything, because that's how he was successful, right?
Yeah.
When you have, and the idea with that is if you're passing enough, they expect you to pass or have to guard against the pass. And so when that happens, you or easier when you don't. And so because it's like football, you want to create multiple, choices that you have to defend and put them into choices. And he just has not been passing the ball. And that goes back to when he was being trapped early. They're pushing him further out to the perimeter, not allowing him to set up the offense near the 3-point line. And with Kugel being out as an offensive threat, they're going to continue to do that. So, and then we'll talk a little bit about the 1-3-1, but for me, he needs to get back to playing the way that he's used to. When they do play in rhythm, when they do pass the ball around, they're finding good open shots. You can't go on 1-8 stretches in the Big 12. I mean, Utah, let's be real. Utah was coming off of a couple of wins, but they're still the last place team in the Big 12. They're 10-17. They're below 500. They're 2-12 in the Big 12. And there was a few last second free throws that made the difference in this game. Thank goodness we pulled it off. And it was smart. It was actually smart heads up play by Demas Fulks on that last drive, because when he drove to the paint, you could see he hesitated for a few seconds to let more of the clock burn off. Right. If you go back and actually watch it, he kind of looked around and then he sped up. And then he went for it to get the foul. It got to the charity stripe when it was tied, and did something he's done. He's a good free throw shooter, but this is something else that I was kind of bringing up in the thread. In late game situations like that, I've seen him multiple times in big games go 1-1, situations that we were going to give them an opportunity, but because it was 3.5 seconds left, they would have had to go the length of the court to do that. So, Josh, I'm going to step back from the mic here for a second and let you add to that, because I've been rambling.
No, you're good, and I won't go too far. I think we're the only thing that seems natural based off of what I've seen over the past couple weeks is that the team is not all there, right? They're obviously there's pieces now that are not only hurt but not playing. That's right, with Kugel and not just him, right? I feel like we are always at our best when we're at full strength. Duh, yes, I know. But I think when we have small pieces missing, this is not the ASUN anymore, right? Every single team in this conference can beat every single team in this conference more than likely on one good night of shooting. I mean, we're projected to have the most berths to the tournament anyway. We have six teams that are basically are locks to make the tournament right now. We have the most top 25 teams in the top 25. In
the top 10, top 15.
Yeah, it's an insane conference. And because of that, these things happen. And no one at the bottom is a slouch on the men's side. I mean, no one. So they're all hard wins. So especially on the road. So that's why I'm glad we got this one, because we needed it. And I don't know what's going to happen this week. I don't know who's going to be really healthy, or I'm not expecting much. If something happens, that's great. If not, I get it. what I'm really hoping for is that by the time the tournament happens in a couple weeks, the Big 12 tournament, that we're close to full, if not having everyone as healthy as they can be this late in the season, because we're getting towards March. And what I really want more than anything else is the team to be healthy when they get into the tournament. I have no doubt they're getting into the tournament. Like they literally have to lose 3 games in a row and have a lot of other teams steal bids to maybe make it a thought that they don't. I just don't see all of that happening. And you can clip this if we need to, if you need me.
Yeah, I think we need to clip this because if it does happen, we're blaming you, Josh.
Yes.
All right. So
don't blame the players. But I feel like there is so much momentum and this team is so good that we're going to split the next 2 and who knows what happens from there. But it's not going – the BYU game is not going to be easy regardless, and it would be great if we had everyone, but we know it's not going to happen. The Baylor game is going to be tough too, but I feel like a home game with momentum, the last home game, should be positive, hopefully. And we'll see what happens in the tournament. But the reality is that I feel like some of the things you're seeing, that pressing, is the difference between knowing you have to be on and knowing that you can be a facilitator, and if you get your 15 or 20, that's okay, but it's not necessary. Well, I think it's necessary now, and I think that makes him a different player.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I agree with that take. We saw CJ come in, get more minutes the last few games. He has the ability to score. I think that he tweaked something in the middle of the game as well, so he didn't get full starters minutes. He did start, but he didn't get full starters minutes in this game. But I think CJ is a big enough scoring threat, and you saw that big pass that he had around the defense when he dribbled towards the baseline and then threw it to Burks for that big 3. And Burks has had his ups and downs, but I mean, can we nickname him now Big 3 Burks or something like B3B or something like that? Because he seems to consistently hit it. Like you can overthink that shot when you're all alone by yourself in the corner, and he did. He stopped, he made sure, and then he shot the shot and it went in. Pacheco came back. He was on concussion protocol. He hit a couple of big 3s. He's much better than Beal, more consistent than Beal. I mean, Beal had a few big 3s 2 games ago, but I like Pacheco coming back. We said before he got his injury that he seemed to have finally found his rhythm in Big 12 play and, consistently hit that 3. You keep talking about these injuries. Where are we at with the injuries? Here's where we are. Kugel, nothing serious. Looked like he may have had a light ankle sprain or something like that. He is, and Stillwell, to your point, is also still hurt. He is wearing a boot off of the court. So when he's traveling, he's still wearing a boot around his ankle. You can tell how he isn't jumping as high. He isn't being as physical, etc. Kugel loss is a big one from an offensive threat perspective. We talked about why. Oh, Econ's back.
Hey.
So,
and dead on right off the gate. Why the heck does the SEC have that? I think we're going to get more in than the Big Ten or equal, but
well, the SEC, I mean, Kentucky's borderline right now on getting in. They're kind of like in our position, but they look like they're going to get 6 in. We're going to get 7 in at least, if not 8. The ACC looks like it's going to get 6 in as well. So I do think that, we absolutely will, as a conference, have the most bids, as well. So going back to what we were saying with the injuries, so Pacheco is back. He looks like he seems to have found his stride. Stillwell's still recovering, but he's playing through it. But it is affecting our offense because he was, we're not able to play through that high post through Stillwell. That was a big part of it. Riley Kugel being gone, but we have CJ. So if CJ stays healthy, I have confidence that he has the ability, not necessarily, and he hits big 3s too. He's solid player. His 3-point percentage is less than Riley Kugel's, but not by much. So you're not losing much. Do I think Riley is still the better option for us if we had the choice of the two. Yeah, but I don't think we're losing that much with CJ, and I do think he could be a starter next year if he comes back. So those are good minutes for him. You know, Cambridge rolling his ankle. That's going to be interesting to see how long that takes, because he will hit some threes occasionally, and he's also good as a dynamic, offensive player relative to, and he's versatile relative to what we can do offensively as well, because we've run the offense through him a few times and have had some success. So we've really got 4 players now for this game specifically, because we have the BYU game coming up. BYU had lost their major player for the season, and the last couple weeks they've been figuring out how to play without him and still win. They seem to be getting better without him being in that system. Same way with what happened with Kansas when their star player was out. But BYU has 6 players out right now. We have listed, this is the official injury report, Tanner Jones, who's been out all season. Riley Kugel is listed as questionable. Probable Jamichael Stillwell and Carmelo Pacheco. Pacheco will be there. Stillwell will play. Riley Kugel, I almost feel like we need to go ahead and give CJ those minutes again and let him rest it. I don't think it's worth it for this game because it's away. And BYU, we weren't expected to win to begin with. If we do win, that's great. But I feel like we roll with CJ out there. And then Cambridge is not listed as out, so maybe it's not as, or even probable or questionable. So hopefully Cambridge's injury is not as serious. He did go back out and play after he rolled his ankle, but obviously it wasn't as he was running effectively, etc. So if that's the case and they actually allowed him to go out there and play, I expect he will be recovered within the next week or so. So that's how we set up from an injury perspective. At first we thought Kugel might have been worse than what he actually is, but I think he will be, to your point, maybe out another game or two and then come back. And but that goes back to what we were talking about. So now we said, okay, we lost the high post offense, which we were running well, right? We lost Riley Kugel as a scoring threat, who was our leading scorer. And to your point, Themis Fulks took over the game. I still think, though, that he was forcing it too much. Everybody knows how dangerous of a scorer he is, and they crunched down in the second half on him. So he's going to have to pass the rock in order for him to open up the offense if he's going to be a point forward scorer, right? Or a score forward point guard. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. Now, as we get these pieces back, that offense will change. The other thing that I really, took from this game that kind of worried me was the 1-3-1 defense that we played. We did not get away from that 1-3-1 after we were getting torched behind the arc. Now, a lot of that it wasn't what Utah was doing, is we weren't playing the help. Themis Fulks was guilty of one of them. We weren't playing the help properly, right? So against the 1-3-1, if 2 guys crash, that leaves one guy open on the perimeter because of the way that the spacing is on the floor. So, that's one of the things that I'm concerned about, is we need to tighten up on that defense because, and I don't understand why we didn't go away from that defense when they started catching up and getting close to scoring. Again, if we're going 1 for 8, we're not doing anything offensively. Yeah, we've got a comfortable 12, 13 point lead, but I think JD sometimes allow his players. It's nice that he has confidence in his players, but I think sometimes he needs to step in, more, I don't know, furtively or more authoritatively and say, hey, look, guys, and I'm sure he left the 1-3-1 out there for a reason. I don't know what he was seeing. But if you consistently get beat on that because people aren't switching properly or they're not playing properly, Pacheco is a liability on defense, which is why he doesn't see more minutes despite having being a sharpshooter at 3. He basically comes in when we need someone or to spell the guard position for more minutes with Riley Kugel being out. But I feel like JD sometimes can get too trusting of the offense and letting them play it through it. Yes, Utah is one of the better defenses in the conference. Hadn't given up 71 in weeks, but Knights did. Yeah, 100% agree. They aren't as good as Houston or Iowa State or some of the others that we saw. But I'm not really worried about their defense in this game. I was more worried about ours. The 1-8 was not due to their defense. It was our offense just not making extra passes and not effectively taking good shots. That the shot selection was terrible during that. And then if you combine that with a 1-3-1 and the coach isn't stepping in saying, hey, let's switch this up a little bit. And that's what we've done all season. We went 1-3-1, we went to man, we switched, and depending on what they were doing too, right? Throughout the game, you'll see us if they are if it's transition offense versus when they're taking the ball out from the boundary, the defense will be different based on what that is, and it changes per team. I know I keep harping on this. I just feel like that was a mistake on that 1-3-1 and not changing it. High altitude play. So Dawkins got 10 players in during the first half. Same for BYU. Yeah. I don't know. Let's talk about BYU. We've been talking about this for a while now. How do you, from the matchup, they do lose their star player, but they've been learning how to play well without him. They've got a potent offense. They're still averaging 86 points per game. The defense is not that great. It's not bad, but it's not that great. It's not staunch defense. They just score a lot of points. They shoot at a higher percentage than what we do. They rebound well. They average 39 rebounds per game. We average 37. We had a distinct advantage against TCU as far as height was concerned, and that really helped us. Most of our guys were a lot longer. Utah commentators, oh my gosh, that game. The color guy sounded like Lou Holtz, and it was like both of them, their jokes were just atrocious. Their commentary was atrocious. You can say what you want about Mark Daniels, but our basketball coverage is way better. And that was just a good reminder. But, statistically, they stack up well. They beat Baylor. So their last 5 games, they beat Iowa State at home, 79-69. They lost to Arizona, 75-68. They beat Colorado at home, 90-86 in OT. They played at Baylor, beat Baylor 99-94. And they lost at home against Houston 77-66. This is a good team. Yeah. And in spite of the Arizona loss, they just came off a win against Iowa State without their top player. So, going into this game, I wasn't expecting to win. When you look at the records are actually similar. So I don't know. We still have a quote unquote 14% chance of winning. We have to, in order to win this game, okay, we have to be able to score, and we have to be able to score from the opening tip. And we cannot play the offense that we did or go 1-8 for stretches of the game, or we will lose this game. I wasn't expecting to win this game. I think when we're talking about seeding and everything else, because right now I tend to agree with you, Josh. We're no longer talking about is this team going to make the tournament and then at large. We're talking about where's the seeding going to be. What we can't do is get blown out. That's the one thing that we can't do unless we win some more in the tournament from a seeding perspective, because I don't want an 8-9, right? I don't want an 8-9 seed.
Oh, I know. And we need probably 2, if not more, wins to avoid that. No, you're right. And I will say well, no one ever wants to get blown out, but this is going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game, I hope, and we'll see. We only have a few days. No, this is tomorrow. We only have a day left to find out. I'd be more excited if we were a little healthier. Last time we weren't that healthy on the road. Another top 25 team, Iowa State. That didn't go too well, but I don't expect that. I expect a pretty solid game. And,
you know what? I didn't expect Cincinnati either.
You know what though? They went on a roll. They've been on a roll.
They have been on a roll, but still to lose that badly.
Yeah.
And it took us from like 36. It took us from like 36 to like 47 in the net. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it really dinged us as far as seeding. And again, guys, we're not talking about whether we're going to make the tournament. We're talking about what the optimal seeding is, right? Because as a 7 seed would be the best thing for us. A 10 seed would be better than an 8 seed or a 9 seed.
True.
So,
100%.
I think for me, I just don't want to, from a seeding perspective, I don't want us to get blown out in this game. If we're not going to win, I don't want us to get blown out. Okay, so talking about overall over the Big 12, and since we're talking about seeding and everything else, right now we are at a 46 net. Pretty much every bracketologist has us pretty much as a lock. We still have obviously Baylor and OSU. I don't want to get to West Virginia and have to win that game to become a lock. And I definitely don't want to get into the tournament. The best case scenario would be, hey, best worst case scenario. Okay, we lose this game against BYU. We don't get blown out. We win against Baylor and OSU, the get back game, right? We beat West Virginia would be great. If not, because they're playing at home and they're a much better team at home, although they've been on a little bit of a losing streak themselves. And then we win one game at least in the conference tournament, right?
Yeah.
That should set us up for a 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah. I'd like to see that. And that would be good. Maybe even 2. But honestly, I don't know if this is going to happen if we're hobbled, right? I think a lot of this depends. So I think what we're going to see, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what happens at home, Baylor, and see if we get healthy enough. If this team is even reasonably healthy, 1 or 2 is not too far of a stretch.
Yeah, I think health is definitely a thing. I think Cambridge will be back. I think Kugel will probably be another game or so before he comes back. But I think everybody else will be back. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Themis Fulks with his injury. But as far as the Big 12 is concerned, we have right now 6 ranked teams in the Big 12. You got Arizona, number 2. They were just surpassed by Duke. You got number 5, Cougars, number 14, Jayhawks, which is kind of crazy because they just got beat by Cincinnati. Iowa State is number 4. Texas Tech is 16 without Toppin, which really was their whole offense. I mean, they had a couple of other players, but not really so much. BYU checks in at 19. We are the next on there. So right now we are tied technically for 3rd place or 4th place, excuse me, in the conference, but we're above 500, right? As long as we stay above 500 and hopefully by at least 1 game above 500, we're going to be okay. Right now we're 2 games above 500 again, which is where we were before when we were making some noise, which is good. I expect this team to be seeded as it stands right now without seeing how they're going to play over in the next 2 or 3 games. I think the next 5 game stretch, because I'm going to assume 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, are going to determine whether this team can be a 7 seed. If they play well, they could be a 7 seed or a 9 seed.
Yeah.
And if they, I definitely don't want to be a 9 seed, because then you're going to pay one of the top seeds, and we'll have to play in a location that isn't as favorable either.
Yeah. Now if we had our choice, we get like maybe 2, if not 3 more total wins, and we get near a 7th seed, and we're in a really good place when it comes to potentially getting a shot at a hard team, like a hard teams we've played, and maybe we get lucky. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think this high end would be 7 seed, low end would be like a 10 seed. I'd rather have a 10 seed than an 8 or 9, but we'll probably end up in an 8 or 9 seed. So that's kind of my prediction the rest of the way out. Either way, we're going to make the conference, or we're going to make the NCAA championship. I think we win at least 1 game. It'd be nice to win 2. That would be good progress for us. I think this team is definitely capable of winning 2 if it's healthy. It's nice to be in this position, especially in the Big 12, where this program is right now. And I don't even know if I should say program, but where this team is right now. Because I don't think the program has matured yet, or at least demonstrated that it can do it consistently. I mean, this is a great place to be if you're a Knight fan.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, think about this. In the AAC, it was max a 2-bid league.
Yeah. if someone got upset in the conference championship tournament.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah, you needed Memphis to do that. Sorry. It's getting cold in here in Orlando. It's getting cold in here as I see like 30 inches of snow in my brother's yard. So I have to shut down the fan. I'm getting cold in this place.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean.
So for me.
Yeah.
No, so for me, it's like at the end of the day, what, this, we are in the Big 12, the best conference. We are, even if we are the 7th or 8th team in, we're still making the conference tournament or the NCAA tournament, that
awesome.
we are like 3 years removed from the AAC. Let's just put it that way.
Well, so I wish it was the AAC, but the AC. So you said AAC. Sorry, the ACC. I swear, it keeps getting in my stupid head. And sadly, this is a better basketball conference than the ACC.
And Johnny said this when he was talking about Utah. He was asked by a Utah reporter like what advice they would give to the Utah coach. He said, I had to learn what type of players and what quality of players I needed to play in this league. And I think that was pretty telling. And, we all had to adjust. The other interesting thing, in the conference right now, Houston, BYU, UCF are all in the top half of the conference. You got legacy teams at the bottom of the conference, and then you've got the PAC teams towards the bottom of the conference too. What does that tell you about where we are today versus those other ads, right? So, I'm sure Utah fans Utah fans like to look down their noses at UCF.
Oh yeah.
And then they were screaming about the football during football season, how they should be in the Big 10 and not the Big 12. You're at the bottom of Big 12 basketball right now, and they were a competitive team in the PAC and made it to the tournament quite often from the PAC. So that should tell you how good this conference is.
This is just a good conference. I mean, would we like to all get $100 million a year from TV and other revenue? Yeah, of course. But truth be, would we like to be closer to our fellow members in the conference? Of course, right? But the reality is, this is a good conference. It's a good conference for so many sports. As you know, I do a lot about the sports of which most of the people on the team don't watch. And you look at what the conference season looks like in those. There's top 25 teams in like every single sport, and we're part of it in many of those sports. this is a good conference, and objectively or not objectively, I don't care. I think it's one of the top 3 conferences in the nation, and sometimes we're better than the other 2 that want to be the biggest and the best. My opinion.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of the other sports, since this is the last hoops topic we have for tonight, we've talked about nets, we've talked about the conference, we've talked about what we expect for the tournament. What do we do with Satia Messer? Is it finally time to cut ties with Satia Messer?
She's such a nice person. I've met her many times.
Okay, stop, pause. Whenever you start a conversation with, she's such a nice person that can tell you everything you need to know.
Look,
I'm just saying.
They brought in a couple of new coaches. They have a couple of freshmen who look like they are going to be good. And here is one straight fact. Anyone really good on this team who has another year is going to get a lot more money to go elsewhere. And that's just the reality. We're not going to spend the money for this regardless. And at the end of the day, you can I was about to say you can have Gino or Yama. Okay, no, that might be a little different. There are coaches who will probably still bring the level of athlete to make us a good team, even with a minimal NIL. But
her big claim to fame was high school recruiting, right?
Yeah.
And so like last year was a perfect example. Some big name freshmen came in, which was great.
Yeah.
And then they immediately transferred out.
Exactly.
Right? And then this season, the big time players that she brought in, some of them got injured. That's not her fault. Whatever. You saw the competitiveness drop. I just don't have faith that she's going to be able to build a program, and she's not a good enough coach without that money. To your point, we're not going to spend that money on it. She's not a good enough coach, an X's and O coach to make up the difference to make us competitive, especially not in the Big 12 conference, which is one of the better women's basketball conferences, home of Baylor, multiple national championships. TCU has been really, really good. There's just up and down the conference. There's good women's basketball programs in the Big 12. We're not going to be competitive with Satia Messer because she does not have the coaching chops. I watched some of the games and I just look at her and her in-game coaching. I'm like, what the are we doing? And I'm one of the 200 fans that's actually watching it, right? Because I am a fanatic. So, to me, I just don't see the coaching chops, and I don't think she can make it up with talent because of who we are as a program, right? Yeah. She was at LSU for a really long time, known for bringing in talent, and she just doesn't have those advantages here. In fact, that's a disadvantage. The right fit for Coach Messer, and I think it's time to exit the chat.
And Don Staley's not coming through that door. Kim Mulkey, talking to LSU, not coming through that door. We're not going to pay for. That's the thing is like, well, what are the options? Do we go like young and upcoming coach that tries to do as good as they can to like? I don't know what what is the next step here, because you're not going to spend the money. You're not going to get coaches. Like, we have coaches on teams at UCF that people would go to them regardless of the money because of how good they are at what they do in training people who get on other teams after college. Multiple of those. I don't know what that looks like in women's college basketball outside of this like core.
Coach, I mean, you go the coach Abe route. You find somebody who's an up and comer in the Frost route, like we did the first time, right? This is basically the ACC or AAC. Now you've got me saying it. AAC route that we had, but for women's basketball. You go find a coach that's an up and comer. You bring them in. You pay them what we pay them, and you let them coach and build a team and be successful. And if they move on, great. If they don't, great. Whatever, and just do it over again. Now, are you going to hit on all of them? No, but I think it's I don't care at this point. Continuing forward with Satia Messer is the definition of insanity, literally.
But let's talk about the women. Let's just talk about the women's top 25. Like, look at the people who are not in the big, I say 3, 4, whatever, however far you want to go. Princeton's your only one not ranked at 25. You got some receiving votes like
It's
Fairfield.
way more consolidated than the other sports. I
Well, that's what
give
I'm
you
saying.
that, but
There's
still,
not
you're not even
two-
competitive. You're losing 30 by 30 to 50 points in a women's basketball game. I'm sorry, you don't need to be the head coach at UCF.
I listen. I don't. I agree with you. I just don't know what the alternative is. I don't think stealing Princeton's coach is really. It's a weird situation. We're not going to invest like we need to invest.
It's not a weird situation. We've been here before. We've done it over and over again.
It's different when
different
people
sport.
are taking your players because they're giving them straight money. We won't. That's a little different than Joy and Abe and all that.
It's not that though. It's the difference in why Coach Abe was successful here was because she was a solid basketball coach. She coached the defense first. We didn't have to have as good an offense or as good of players because we had a good defensive scheme, and we won with transition offense with one player that was really, really good, right? Won against bigger programs with that.
Mhm.
Satia Messer is not that. You're right.
True.
We're not going to be able to replace her with someone that will be able to recruit and do whatever. We've got to find an X and O's coach that's, at the lower ranks, promote them up, and then move them forward. And there is not a reason to keep a coach on if they are losing 30 to 50 points on a lot of these games, regardless of her ability or what resources she has to acquire talent. I don't care. You're a recruiter in a head coaching position versus a head coach. We need a head coach in that position, not a recruiter, because of exactly why you said what you said. So find the Coach Spira of women's basketball. I don't care where you find them. The Cows have found them. They aren't paying that much more than what we are for a women's basketball head coach, right? So find a good head coach, not a recruiter. It's time to move on.
Yeah, and I will say, at least for USF, as much as I don't like to say that, they've been good at women's basketball for quite some time. They have a reputation of actually being good.
Because of one head coach that they've had for like 20 years.
They've had a couple, but still, you're not wrong. And I think they left actually recently, and they're still doing good.
Yeah, he left 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and they found another coach that was a good X's and O's coach.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get it. I know. We'll see what happens. I don't see any change happening. But maybe I'm naive.
Well, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again.
But this is the first time we actually swiv it.
Well, no, we swiveted from football. I just didn't call it.
Oh, we didn't actually do the thing.
Yeah,
if you don't do the thing, it doesn't count.
All right. UCF baseball talk. Let's talk a little baseball. The other one of the other sports at UCF. So initial impressions watching this team. Coach Wallace is still playing with the lineups, which is interesting. We just came off of an 11-0 loss. The hitting is typically behind the pitching at the beginning of the season, but I think we've got a bigger problem than that. The hitting just has not been good. We're 4-3 right now. 2-game losing streak. We should not have lost the Indiana game. LSU is number 1 in the country. We got beat 11-0. Whatever. It's a wash. I don't care. I wasn't expecting to win that game.
Correct.
The Notre Dame game, if you watched it, it was a great game from the sense that we came back in the bottom of the 9th and then finished or top of the 9th. I don't remember. I think we were batting first. We were, because then we had to pitch the 3 outs. We came back, won that game 4-2 in 10 innings. We lost 11-0 because there was run rules, in fact, in place for LSU for 7. My problem is the hitting. I mean, we lost to Miami and Coral Gables, but that was a weekday game, so I don't really count that as much. We were ahead in that game going into the last inning, and we gave that up. I do like what we have coming out of the bullpen as far as pitching is concerned. Sauce is back. It looks like he's going to be back in the regular rotation. I'm just really, really concerned about the hitting. We did not hit well. Notre Dame had their ace out there, and yes, it's going to be a tougher game against an ace. You know, pitching staff for any program, especially during a 3-game series, your ace is going to come out first. You get your Friday night starter, you get your Saturday night starter, and you've got your Sunday starter, right? The Sunday starter is not as good as your Friday night starter, right? You want to get ahead in any series. So, yeah, I get it, but it was just terrible. And Coach Wallace, to his credit, he subbed in the Notre Dame game. He subbed in several players to come in and hit off the bench. And those are the guys that made it happen for the most part for us to be able to get that win, right? So kudos to Coach Wally, but that tells you how frustrated he was at the hitting that was going on. You know, swinging at pitches that we shouldn't be swinging at. Chasing pitches, too many strikeouts. You know, we really didn't start against Notre Dame. We didn't really start making the pitchers earn it and get full counts or fuller counts until late in the game. And like I said, there's something to be said for, you know, hitting, catching up to pitching. But I'm really, really concerned about the hitting on this team. Really concerned.
Yeah, it's it's interesting because it's not the first time we've had this conversation in the last 3 or 4 years. A couple years we're like, okay, we can hit dingers and do it all day long. It's intriguing because I don't know if this is because we're early in the season or if this is fact. And it's not. I don't know. To me, it could be let's wait a little bit and see what happens. But I don't know. So all I'll say is this: I would give it a couple more series and see if we get to a starting lineup that's kind of solidified reasonably, and we understand where this team can go. And you'll have your answer. You'll have your answer. And
I do think pitching wise, I think we've got a pretty good staff. Sauce is back in the rotation. He was the Big 12 pitcher of the week. He had some injury issues. I do think we have some pretty decent pitching. Do I think that we have as many Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starters? Did we have the same rotation we've had the last couple of years? Quite as good, but we've got some newbies on the mound, so we'll see how they do as the season progresses. I do see some. I'm more confident in our pitching than I am in our hitting right now. I think our closers out of the bullpen, our pen is pretty strong. I think we've got good closers, so that will help. But we've got to get that hitting going. Jacksonville, we were supposed to play Jacksonville tomorrow night, but that's been postponed.
Yes.
I don't know why, to be honest. Do you know why?
It was a lighting issue. Yeah.
Really?
They had some type of lighting issue in the stadium, and it's postponed. I don't know if the lights can't come on in 35-degree weather, maybe. I don't know, but it's a lighting issue.
Reminds me of UConn, because UConn for a long time didn't even have lights in their stadium, so you couldn't play any of the UConn games at night, which you wouldn't want to early in the season anyway, because it's cold.
Yes.
But yeah, that was interesting. I didn't realize it was that. So the next series that we'll play will be at home against the Cows, starting on Friday and running through Sunday. So it's interesting. The first night is out west night, which I don't know what that means. And then they've got the Bark at the Park on Sunday. They did that at softball this past weekend for the tournament. They had all the dogs in, and Bark at the Park means you can bring your pups, which is awesome. I love that they do that. They show little pictures and Instagram photos and whatever of people. They send in pictures of their dogs and they highlight it and all that stuff. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens against the Cows. The Cows typically have a pretty good baseball. I don't know how well they've done so far this season. They are 7-1. So they beat Illinois. They took the series from Illinois, won 2 games there. They seem to have some pretty good hitting. Played North Dakota State. Who cares? Good for football, not so much for baseball. And they played Georgia Southern, which Georgia Southern typically has a good team, but I mean, they beat them 29-4 on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that should go to show you
where we're at.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to get out of the Cows just yet, but this is a good litmus test for us at home. Go out and support the crowd, if for nothing else, to beat the Cows. And, it'll be interesting to see, but hopefully we get this hitting turned around. All right, let's swib it one more time.
Swib it one more time?
Let's talk a little UCF softball. The softball team was ranked coming out. Coming out of 25. They were ranked to start the season. They did lose their ranking in D1 softball, their rankings, so they're no longer ranked. The softball team is 14-4, so still one of the best starts that we've ever had. I mean, you think about it as far as how many wins are really needed to make the tournament. I mean, we're off to a good start, and it wasn't like we were playing, bad teams. We played number 16 Duke, lost 2-5. We beat Maryland.
Going into my segment, what is going on here? What's going on here?
It's the off season, man. It's time to start promoting some of those segment pieces. And frankly, UCF softball has been really good for a really long time, and more people are paying attention finally. So
okay, that's fine.
Beat Maryland 15-7 in 5 innings. Beat Maryland again 9-1. Beat Mizzou 5-1. Beat Northwestern 6-4. Lost to number 17 Georgia 5-13. Beat number 10 LSU. Turned around and beat LSU 5-1. Lost to number 8 Nebraska, and then beat NC State. So again, and then we lost 5-6. There was a late rally against Penn State that fell short. We were hitting nothing until I think it was like going in. I think it was the 6th inning. We finally started putting some runs on the board. Then had a late rally that fell just short, and then beat Notre Dame 6-2, then 3-1, and Charleston Southern 5-1. So again, my point in saying all that is we weren't playing chump teams, right? We're playing Power 5 programs. It's amazing how different it is now than it was not too long ago, as far as UCF softball is concerned. But this team, I think this team is good. They've developed some good power hitting. A lot of the team that were freshmen last year that are now sophomores have taken that next step. Crazy. Some of the seniors on this team, it's like, I remember when Aubrey Evans and those guys, they started as freshmen and we had high hopes for them, and now they're seniors. So it's pretty amazing to see that. Our pitching staff, I don't think, is as good in the circle as it has been the past years. We had for our pitching staff still 2.25, 2.5 ERAs. And again, we've run ruled. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've run ruled 5. Yeah, 5 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games we've run ruled as well. So this team has a lot of power. They have good hitting. The pitching against really good teams, really good hitting teams, is a little less. Vasquez is really good. She's also coming back. I just don't see the variety in pitching that we've had in years past with past staffs. So that's really my concern is control and variety. They have fewer pitch. Some of them have good rise balls. Some like to pitch low, whatever. We don't have anybody that can do either more of that or as an ace in either one of those. And when you're playing different teams and different hitters and different styles and approaches to hitting, there is a game within the game as far as pitching from the circle is concerned and how you set those pitchers up. So is this a great team? We don't know yet. Hopefully they catch fire throughout the season. Is this a good team? Should they make the tournament again this year? I'm thinking they probably will, but we'll know more at the meat of the schedule because we've not been playing chumps.
No. And the pitching's a little young. There's a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and that's okay too because we have a couple of seniors, and so I think it's a good mix of as good as we can get now, and hopefully we can develop the pitchers into the future, right? So we have honestly, if you look at our losses, for the most part, we're talking mostly top 25 teams. Actually, almost all top 25 teams. I don't think Penn State was actually on the edge. Only losses are to Duke, who's 16, Georgia, who's 17, Nebraska, who's 8, then that Penn State loss. So we're a solid team, and I'll get into who we're playing next, but we get the conference in March, and we have Oklahoma State's number 19, Texas Tech's number 1. We're not playing any chumps in our conference either, and we still have a semi-weekend series versus Florida coming up in April. So there's a lot of ways to get wins. I think this is a pretty solid team that has a shot to beat top 25 teams at times.
Well, they already have, right? So they beat number 10 LSU, right? So I think they're 1-3 against top 25 teams, right? So that's why I'm saying I think they may be one of those teams that's borderline, like good but not great, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
and that's now. Yeah, when we get down 30, 50 games total down the road, let's see what happens. It is like most of the sports that Alan and Andrew do not watch, and maybe Trey too. There's only honestly the golf teams, but other than women's basketball, everyone else is pretty much killing it. So
yeah. All right, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. And let's go ahead and oh my gosh, somebody went here and missed with my stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about your comments in our segment called Listener Love, because we love you guys and we appreciate it. The reason we do this is for you. We don't get paid for any of this, or we just do it because we like each other and because we appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, sharing, following. Tell your friends, because the more people that you tell, the more people we can reach. All right, so let's start at the top. So our good friend Econ Advisor, who you've seen in here, says Big 12 desperately needs 3 AAC schools in BYU, none of which they wanted, or at least Texas and OU didn't before leaving the conference. I still think that they knew they were already in negotiations for it. They didn't want to, quote unquote, share the pie or pay more people on the exit fee. I think that's where that came from, to be frank. But you're right, and we're still better off than the ACC. So because that's kind of what we all wanted was the ACC, and we didn't end up going there. So shout out to Econ for that. At Tufus1523, this is the first time I've seen him or her comment. Participation trophies for the SEC. That was in response to what we were talking about why the heck is the SEC getting so much love. And we responded, that's what they want. Thank you for commenting. We appreciate you. And we do. And 100% that's what TV wants, because ESPN has a lot of money tied up in those folks. At Savannah Fan, frequent commenter, and CBS writer gave an interview to a West Virginia fan site and basically just sounded like he didn't research things too deeply, other than portal rankings and a few news about UCF losing all its QBs. And what he's talking about is the CBS report that we talked about, where they were ranking Big 12 teams for next year in football, losing all its QBs as if we have gone backwards. If you were watching earlier in the show, it seems to think the players think the opposite of that, based on the UC Fast cast, where the wide receivers were singing the praises of the QBs, how leadership is different, how they're already out there, practicing with them, how they appreciate getting so much direction from the QBs. That's not what we were getting from our QB situation last year for various reasons, right? So he's dead wrong on that. I think we are in a much better QB situation. So the CBS guy is off. He also says, I think another UCF podcast said it well, we haven't won enough respect in the conference yet to be given the same benefit of the doubt as the other teams. 100% agree. We said that too. We've been saying that for a while. And there's much, much more. So check out Savannah Fan's comment out there as well. It was a pretty lengthy comment. But that's it for this week. We haven't really said, these comments came in off of the previous week's content because we didn't post anything last week. So apologize for that, but we do appreciate you. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share it with your friends. And thank you so much for all of you that follow along. We do it for you. All right. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and swim it yet again.
Swim it yet again?
Yep. To Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Josh, take it away.
So we are at the end of the Winter Olympics, and there are we don't really have a lot of Winter Olympics UCF athletes, but obviously we have at least 5 Summer Olympic athletes that we have talked about in the past. So there are 2 current UCF coaches that were Olympic athletes, either alternatives or played in the teams. Which are the 2?
Well, Tiffany Sahadic.
Sahadic, yeah.
Sahadic. I don't know why I said that way. I know that.
Yeah. That's the obvious one.
So Coach Tiff.
Coach Tiff is the obvious one. There's one other that I was shocked at.
That played or coached?
Was a player or an alternate player for an Olympic team.
I don't know. Let me think about that, because Coach Baer, I know, for USA softball in the Olympics. Johnny Dawkins?
Yeah. He was actually an alternative player to the 1984 USA men's basketball Olympic team. I never saw that. I don't know if he'd get a medal for that, but I started a little Olympic
research.
Would. Like, really?
If he was an alternate and he was like with the travel team, then yes.
I think so.
If he wasn't with the travel team, then he wouldn't have gotten a medal.
Now they did win that. They did win that 84 title. Of course, Jordan was on there. But it's interesting because I think this was pre-NBA. It was the last amateur level USA team to win a championship. but here are these amateur athletes: Patrick Ewing, Vern Fleming, Michael Jordan, Chris Mullen, Sam Perkins, Alvin Robertson, Wayman Tisdale, and Leon Wood. And more. Hey, someone from Brandon, Florida. Look at that. But that's your amateur team, which is nuts. But yeah, and they crushed. I don't think they took a loss less than I think the tightest game was 19 points. No, it was actually a 9-point game versus the Federal Republic of Germany is the tightest game. But in the gold medal game, they won by 35 30.
Well, I mean, after that Olympics, well, the Dream Team. When did the Dream Team come out? Was it the
That's
90s?
92. That was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that was shortly. I knew it was like 1 or 2 Olympics after that. So, but yeah, that was an exciting team, and heard that stat about Johnny, and
I was
Coach Abe being the coach.
surprised.
Coach Tip was also a coach for the Olympics. For
Yeah.
those that don't know that, she not only did she play in the Olympics, she was also a coach for the USA team in soccer for the Olympics, as was Coach Bear. So lots of Olympic ties here. Obviously, if you go further back, there's other Olympians that are involved. You remember a certain volleyball player?
Yep. Phil Dowhauser. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was
Okay. I
wondering if you remember the name.
Yeah.
And then there was another women's soccer player from UCF that was also an Olympian.
Yep. That's Michelle Akers.
Exactly. So lots of Olympic ties to UCF sports. That's all the ones that I can think of, but maybe that's a funny, sometimes funny fact of the week for the future.
I think
all
there's
right.
5 or so. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and swim it for the very last time for a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan and Andrew do not watch, and probably Trey, but that's okay. By the way, Trey will be back next week, and since he said it in the last show that we did in the comments, I'm going to go ahead and announce it. The reason you have not seen Trey on the show lately is because he had a baby. So congratulations to Trey, and his wife is also former UCF softball player. They are proud parents, and he's been complaining about lack of sleep and all of the other things that you know are coming. But outside of that, he's a proud papa. He's going to be a great dad, and we're so happy for him. And that's why he's been off the roster for a while, dealing with that. So congratulations to both of them. I probably should have started the show with that, but I didn't think about it until this triggered it. But we'll talk about it when Trey gets back, and he can tell us all his proud papa stories with bags under his eyes and everything else. All right, Josh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and take it away. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
I was going to make a very bad transition, and I sucked it back in. The women's basketball team is now 10-17. They lost, unfortunately, one of their 2 winnable games left. So they lost to K-State at home, 67-93 last Wednesday, and to Cincinnati, 60-73. That was a winnable game. They are not a great team. Yes, I know. The final home game of the year is this Wednesday versus number 19 West Virginia. We might know how that will fall. And the final the year versus Houston on March 1st, which is our absolute last winnable game of the year. That will be the battle for the bottom of the Big 12 rankings. Alliteration necessary. Do we have a new sound effect pad? Geez.
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
The number 8 men's team, talking about top 25 teams from the Big 12, or generally from UCF. Number 8 men's tennis team is now 11-2 after beating number 28 Clemson last Friday 4-1, and UNC Wilmington 6-1 on Sunday. Up next is a home game versus FAU on Thursday, February 26th at 12 p.m. The women's tennis team is 2-0 this weekend. They were ranked in the top 25. I think they're one of those kind of like softball. They're hovering in and out of, depending on who they beat. They might get there, they might not, but they're still 7-1. They beat number 72 FAU 4-0 and Stetson 6-1. They start the Big 12 Conference slate this week in Lake Nona. I got a lot more to say here. Can't wrap it that way. Yeah. And they face cut the music. Got to get a wrestling reference in there. So anyway, they're going to start in Lake Nona as they face number 47 BYU on Thursday, February 26th, and number 33 Utah on Saturday, February 28th at noon. Again, the Big 12 is a good conference. Outside of all of this, football and basketball stuff, it's just a good conference. So we already talked a lot about your formerly number 25 softball team. Now, softball plays a lot of games. So we have 6, count them, 6 games coming up this week at the Plex. It starts with FAU on Wednesday, the 26th at 5 p.m., and then the Charger on Classic starts. The Knights will play Dartmouth on Thursday at 6 p.m., the Fighting Rob Calabrese's of Wagner on Friday at 6 p.m. There's now a doubleheader on Saturday on the 28th. You play Dartmouth again at 4:30 in George Washington. Happy former President's Day at 7 p.m. And the Rattlers round off the weekend as the Knights take on FAMU at 1 p.m. on Sunday, March 1st. Men's golf did not play last week. They play at Sawgrass Country Club coming up on March 7th at the Hyatt. That's a Hyatt with one T. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Women's golf ended up in 9th place at the Moon Golf Invitational last week in Melbourne, and they will play next at UNLV at the UNLV Invite in early March. And there you go. And last but certainly not least, and this is straight from UCFTonights.com. I am not editing the copy. And this is really cool because UCFAA, their production team, heavily invested in new and upgraded equipment. And Roger and I kind of talked about that on campus while we're doing a tour and talking about what we're changing in the football stadium. But they upgraded their equipment now, but since they only have 2 control rooms on campus, there was always capacity constraints, and there was a big hullabaloo about baseball not being able to be viewed online or streamed last year. I don't remember if all of you remember that. So overcome those challenges, the UCFAA production in Disney's Wild World of Sports, they developed the shared resource model the same way ESPN has like games that are recorded and they're being remote in Bristol while the game is live in like Provo or something. Well, UCF and Disney have developed that shared resource model, and now they own their own like Remy workflow. It's this remote workflow that you've probably already seen and maybe not even knew about it. So the Wide World of Sports has a broadcast center, and UCF is going to actually agree to at least 9 shared productions this spring, and we're probably going to do 11. That means every single baseball event and softball event at home should be streamed, and they're actually going to, I think, do their first track and field live experience because of it. So some of the modern technology that's happening in Orlando is now coming to you to serve you more UCF sports. Back to you, Roger.
All right. And on top of all of that, to your point, yes, there were only 2 production facilities in the football stadium. Obviously, the football stadium is going under renovation right now as well, and that's a big part of this. The tower is still on schedule to open for this coming season. And the production facilities have actually been moved. So they used to be, all the hookups and the television hookups used to be where they've now put the pavers. If you remember seeing all the television trucks and stuff there, they've added another one on the other side of the stadium where the gravel parking lot was. And so now they'll have 2 hookups there as well. That's why those folks will no longer be parking on those pavers as part of the plaza. And we've added some redundancy. So that's part of the reason why this is all happening. But if you watch the softball game, the production quality and the baseball game, the cutaways, the number of cameras we have, etc., are no longer limited by our in-house facilities. That will bode well for future productions. And when we have multiple, basketball happening at the same time as softball, at the same time as whatever, in the past, they would only have like 1 camera on the pole. Now we can run multiples. So that will not go away with Disney. That will continue after the fact because of the additional production facilities that are now in place. All right. That is it. Now that we've given you all of the media, unless Josh, that's a no. He looks confused and he's dancing like a bobblehead. Okay, so this week we talked a lot about hoops, where we expect it to be. Let's hope for either a 7 or a 10 seed. I'd rather it be a 7. Oh boy,
I'd rather it 6.
Oh, come on. Whatever, dude. That's already played out. Come on. All right. That being said, excited to see what this hoops team does. BYU will be interesting. Just worst case scenario, just don't get blown out. I want to get back game against West Virginia and OSU. but I also want to beat Baylor first. I don't want to have to rely on that West Virginia game going into the tournament. We are playing for seeding. It's an exciting time to be a Knight. Make sure you're supporting the team. Go out and watch baseball against the Cows. Go Knights and
charge on. So RIP to Johnny Gaudreau and Elliot Limoncelli. Somehow both of you hockey players helped out and got that U.S. men's hockey team a win in overtime.